And I didn't know she was my wife until you put the light on her.
We were standing there in the all together, and I noticed that one of her legs was longer than the other.
Her name was Eileen.
One of the yeah. Anyway, what show is this? Oh, Lovecraft eZine podcast. Today is yeah.
Oh crap! I'm on the wrong show again.
Yeah. Well, stick around. We do great and terrible things here. It's July 7th, 2019. Somebody emailed me and asked me why I date each show, and I thought about that, and I realized it was kind of a subconscious thing. I think I want people to be able to watch or listen to the show chronologically in years to come, and they can see my mental fog worsening just slowly with each show. So
we're all gonna grow old and die on this show, aren't
we? We're all gonna grow old and die and be forgotten. But I've got something on that later.
What's your name?
I'm Mike Davis, Lovecraft eZine guy. Kelly Young is late. Matt, who are you?
Okay, two things. First of all, I want to talk about limited editions. I've edited Matt Carpenter.
Who you are.
I have edited 2 books for Olthar Press, A Lonely and Curious Country and Pickman's Gallery. They are print on demand, which means there are only as many copies as people have ordered. Hardly anyone's ordered these books, so they're like really rare books at this point. So you have a chance to go to Amazon and pick up 2 really rare books.
What are the titles again?
A Lonely and Curious Country and Pickman's Gallery. Okay, now, the second thing is we are back to having prizes. This is a copy.
Much like the Saturday Night Movie show, you're helping me out with this.
All right, look at this.
This is great.
Definitive copy of Fungi from Yuggoth from Hippocampus Press, illustrations by Jason Eckhard with the annotations by David Schultz.
Is that hardcover?
It's the hardcover, gorgeous book. It's our first prize.
Is that velvet inside?
It's actually got real live Shoggoths inside.
Okay, all right, great, super.
How big is this book? The poem's not that long.
This is the longest.
Well, look, it's got annotations, plus it has copies of HPL's manuscripts and illustrations. Okay, so if you want
what do you know about Lovecraft, Pete? Huh? What do you? Forget it. Go ahead, Matt.
eZine prizes, okay, at gmail.com.
Prizes. Whoa. You created a Gmail email address for this?
Just for this, okay. eZine prizes at gmail.com.
Wait a minute. It's not AOL? You didn't do a new AOL address?
They wouldn't let me add a new screen name for AOL. Okay, so put Fungi in the title, and after a week, I'll pick a prize winner. I got to say, if you're from overseas and the shipping is prohibitive, I'll probably just forward you an ebook instead of something.
A signed ebook. Pete, you don't have to mute. It's just us.
Well, I can sign this if you want. I don't think it'll enhance the value, but
no, I meant you could sign the digital edition.
Yes.
None of that told us who you were, but it was very informative.
I told you my name.
Oh, okay. All right, Pete. Who are you?
I'm Pete Rawlick, and in lieu of Kelly Young not being here, I'll be tonight's alcoholic.
Aren't you both usually the alcoholics on?
Well, I'll double up.
Okay. Well, I think he's coming.
Well, I'll drink fast.
Okay.
Pete's just the guy in bed.
That's so true, and so on so many different levels.
Okay, so I'm in bed because my dog is lonely.
Crap! Speak of the devil, and he will appear.
Pete better drink really fast.
You were listening?
I'm skipping.
I'll tell you how classy we are tonight.
All right, you going to me?
Yes, I'm going to you.
I'm Rick Lay, writer and idolater of Cthulhu, as you can see.
Yes, you have a friend.
I brought a friend.
For those who are listening later, what is this? This is like a foot high.
Yeah, it's from the Even Death May Die Kickstarter. It's their expansion for Rie Rising. That's all they're shipping right now. They aren't shipping the other components if you back that Kickstarter.
Okay. Yeah, and I think you can order it somewhere online too. I've got the link somewhere. So, listen, guys, we don't have a guest today unless you want to consider Cthulhu here a guest. So you don't have to keep muting. So, Kelly Young is on the show today.
Hello, hello. Fantastic to be here.
I'm sure it is for you.
Everybody, please take a drink.
You're honored to be here, aren't you?
I am always honored to be here. And Rick, can you tell me how tall that thing is? I skipped out on that, and I'm looking at it going, what was I thinking?
It's
You have a budget.
I guess it's somewhere between 2 to 3 feet.
Take it up.
Are you
amazing.
serious? Are you serious? It's 2 to 3 feet.
Yeah, it's big.
That's amazing. I mean, I did the game, and when that popped up and it was a limited Kickstarter, I kind of passed on it. But geez, it's huge.
Yeah, Kelly, I did too. I got everything else, but I didn't get that. And look, I'm not gonna. It's beautiful. I just don't particularly like it.
Well,
No.
your spouse probably won't like it either. It has the wings. The wings are detachable, so when you get it, you got to put the wings on.
I'm kicking myself. I think that looks amazing.
All right. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Somebody else on the message board, Jennifer. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I forget your last name. She posted pictures on the eZine group message board the other day. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. Our friend and panelist, before he got sick, Joe Pulver, fell a few days ago. I just want to let everyone know that he's okay now. I did chat a little bit with his wife, Kat Pulver, earlier, and he's okay. He's recovering. And that's about it. Except I think didn't someone say two days ago was Joe's birthday? I'm pretty.
Yes, Joe is 64.
Yeah.
About this stuff. Okay. I'm getting shit already about this. Why are you guys muting? I'm not gonna monologue the whole show.
I've got horrible gas, so.
Unless your dog.
I thought when I pushed that red button that you would stop talking.
No such luck. All right, so the title of this particular broadcast is Pour the Milk In Before the Cereal and Other Important Topics.
Wait, what?
I will relate this in some way to weird fiction and Lovecraftian horror. I don't know how, but maybe you guys can help me. I got into a lot of trouble a few weeks ago when I posted on Twitter that it made more sense to pour the milk into the cereal bowl first and then pour the cereal on top of it in just small increments. So then it stays crispy. So you have like 5 small bowls of cereal instead of one big bowl of crispy cereal on the top, and then it gets soggy. I think this is probably one of the secrets to life, and everybody's disagreeing with me.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, you're a monster.
There you go. All right.
Didn't we have this debate about a month ago?
Yeah, but it was
Anyway,
here.
we went over the fact that the definitive guide to eating Captain Crunch was by Neil Stevenson, and he supports Mike's position.
There you go. And he's obviously a smart man.
First, you put the cereal in the bowl.
No.
First of all, you have to decide on what size bowl you want.
You actually have very different sized bowls in your home?
I have 5 different sizes of bowls.
Okay.
There's a snack bowl size, there's a lunch size, there's a breakfast size, and then there's a dinner size.
Sure.
Of course, yeah,
in my home we have one size, but go ahead, Mr. Trump.
Because you don't have the same amount of cereal for breakfast that you have for dinner. Am I
you
not?
probably even know which fork and spoon to use at a fancy dinner too, don't you? I just use the same fork.
That's easy, Mike. What you do if you're ever at a fancy dinner, not that anyone would invite you, you start from you start from the outside and you work your way in.
I actually knew that. I did watch Titanic.
Okay, I've watched enough Downton Abbey to know how to behave myself in these situations.
Here's what's terrifying. The other night, I sent my girls in for a fish fork, and they actually knew what it was.
I don't know. Maybe we should send a welfare worker your way.
It's a fish fork. It's a large fork. It's used for serving fish.
All right, now that everyone's agreed with me that you pour the milk in before the cereal, we can move on. Yeah, okay, Pete, you have a book, right? I heard somewhere.
What?
You have a new book, right?
Strange Company, right?
Strange Company.
Strange
Yeah,
Company
we mentioned it last time, but that was 3 weeks ago, and
oh God, was it 3
before
weeks
Laird
ago?
was on, and Paul and John.
Yes, and Strange Company and others, and I think it's doing well. I'm very happy with what's going on. I've gotten a couple people ask for book plates, which I've sent out dutifully. So if you want a book plate, drop me an email, not an email, a Facebook message.
Maybe they could just text you. What's your phone number again?
No, not my phone number. I don't answer my phone unless I know who you are. But no, Facebook message me. Facebook has this thing where it blocks out my messages from people I don't know unless I'm on my laptop, so I might not see them until I get home. But yes, I will gladly send you a book plate.
And on the Facebook, he's under Peter Rollick, not Pete Rollick. So that might throw you if you're not.
I am the younger Peter Rollick. Actually, I'm the middle Peter Rollick. There is my father, and there is my son.
Oh, of the New York Rollicks?
Of the Pennsylvania Rollick.
Of the Pennsylvania Rollick. To justify Kelly Young's being on the show today, do you want to talk about Dark without any spoilers? Dark season 2.
Me? Has nobody else been watching this?
I haven't seen it yet.
I committed to Black Spot.
I'm watching Black Spot. It's very good.
Well, I can't wait to hear everybody's thoughts on that because I've got it in my queue. But, well, if you remember, you and I, Mike, both really loved.
Do you know that?
I'm sorry, what?
You sure are loud today. Do you know that?
What's going on? Am I yelling too much? Is my mic too loud?
I think your mic's a little too close.
Yeah, it's also kind of blah, 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 blah.
Also,
let's face it, that's every show. But
I've been celebrating the birthday of the greatest nation on the planet for 4 days, so I might be just a tad drunk.
Denmark?
I will try to modulate
Canada.
My voice a little better. I'm watching Dark season 2 on Netflix. In fact, Stranger Things season 3 popped on, and I was like, no time. I'm invested in Dark season 2, and I finished it. I fucking loved it. It is twisty and turny and time travel-y. It's all the things that you like, Mike.
I do, and I did love Dark season 1. There were so many weird things about characters becoming other characters, if you know what I mean. I don't want to give out any spoilers, but the thing that threw me, that made me not anticipate Dark season 2, was the very cliffhanger ending of Dark season 1. I thought, no, they're not really going to go there, are they? This looks stupid, but maybe, I guess I'm wrong. If you love
it, went there. And it worked completely, and then they went there again with this season, a very cliffhangery ending, and I was hoping it was just going to kind of end, but maybe they'll pull it off again. I thought this was a spectacular season. I loved every minute of every episode, and when that ending happened, I groaned, and but but that's how I felt at the end of the first season, and this season was great. So maybe
Okay.
they'll pull it off again with season 3. Talking
Yeah.
about Dark.
Yeah, we're talking about Dark. Yeah, I remember a year ago or less when you watched the first season, you told me that you'd seen the first episode or two, and then you're like, "What? That's what they're doing?" And so you had to go back and rewatch those first 2 episodes before you went on the rest of the season.
Right. I mean, I think it's pretty clear and obvious now that it's a show about time travel. But the first 2 episodes of the first season, you do not know that. The second episode ends with suddenly oh, guess what? This show is about time travel.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, and yeah, I very much do like time travel.
I did like that first season, I gotta say. I did watch the second.
The second just came out maybe 3 weeks ago or something, and I had forgotten that it came out. And then I started playing it, and I literally watched it. Yeah, I literally watched it over a weekend. So
we are going to talk more time travel, which never bothers me, but we're going to wait till the end because we're talking about Avengers Endgame and parallel timelines and so forth, which Pete and I have talked about before.
Yeah, that discussion wasn't any good.
That's true.
Let's just skip it when we get there.
Okay, so you brought up Stranger Things 3. Has anybody watched Stranger Things 3? Rick?
Yeah, I've watched it, and I liked it a lot. And they avoided the ridiculous subplot from the previous season.
Episode 7 of season 2.
Episode 7. So we don't get any more children with psychic powers.
Ah, okay. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I liked what I saw.
Yeah, the human villains are established very early on, and I was surprised at who they were. I'm not going to say who they are. I want you to be surprised too.
I've seen a lot of 4th of July horror movies on Hulu and other places. This is a 4th of July setting also, right? What year is this?
I think it's 84.
84, okay.
It's either 84 or 85 because they give you a flashback and then they jump a year. So I think the beginning scene was in 84, and I think it then jumped to 1 year later. So I think
well, the real question is if there were no Back to the Future references, then it was before 85.
There were Back to the Future was in the movie theaters.
Yes.
Oh, it was in this?
Yes, you see shots of Back to the Future.
Well, it must have been 85 then. Yeah. So, all right. I guess you guys have both sold me on Stranger Things 3 and Dark season 2. So moving on, Black Spot. Matt, are you the one who said you've been watching this? I have.
I've been watching this.
Pete?
Watching what?
Black Spot.
Black Spot. Black Spot reminds me of Twin Peaks.
Absolutely. I was going to say that.
Is it weird? Is it horror?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So there's a lot of crime going on. There's a lot of conspiracy going on.
And there's something in the woods.
And there's something weird going on. And we don't know what it is. But
you know what? The owls are not what they seem either.
No, but neither are the deer.
Neither are the crows. No, I'm actually only 4 or 5 episodes in, but I'm loving it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I want to see this. Is it just 1 season?
I think it's 2.
I think it's 2 now. It's on Hulu, right?
Well, I'm watching on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel certain in saying it's either Hulu, Netflix, or Amazon Prime. So.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And it's in a foreign language. It's in French. With subtitles. So.
Yeah, which brings up brings up a question, and I was thinking about Kelly watching Dark when I was watching Black Spot.
That's in German, right?
Yeah, I started off with the dubbed audio, and I'm half deaf. In a quiet environment, that's fine, but in a show or a group setting, it's very hard. I can't go to a bar and talk to anybody. It's impossible. They have to be shouting in my ear.
Sure.
So I've got it. I usually have the subtitles on when I watch a show, and the subtitles kept not really matching up with what the American dubbing was saying. So I gave up and I flipped over to the what is it, a German show? I forget.
Yes, German.
Yeah, I flipped over to the German Black Spot we're talking about, and
French.
It's
okay.
It's in France, yeah. And that's been a much better experience. So how are you watching it, Pete?
I'm watching it with subtitles, and
American dubbing or the French?
I guess it's American dubbing. No, I'm not watching the American dubbing. I'm watching in French with subtitles. And I did this when I watched the girl with the dragon tattoo and all this other stuff. And by the end of the season, I'll probably learn to speak French. But, just like when you listen to an Onion CD, so suddenly you can speak Gaelic.
You listen to Enya?
I used to, but
you're off the show. Black Spot does very much remind me of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, it even has the it's sort of got the same premise. This guy has come to the town, which is kind of isolated, and it's a lumber town.
Mm-hmm.
To investigate crime.
Here's a question I have, though. The Black Spot reference is that cell phones don't really work very well and so on and so forth. But, every episode I see the lead detective talking to somebody on a cell phone. So maybe it means I don't know what it means.
Well, I think what they established early on was that the GPS satellite system didn't work. And the compasses don't work, but I think the cell phones were working.
Well, here's the difference between Twin Peaks and Black Spot. There seems to be some sort of mystery of the week, like each episode.
Yes.
But there's also an overarching mystery to what's going on. I don't know, kind of like Buffy.
I just thought of something. I've been doing these movie nights. I may have to inquire. Like usually we get 6 to 8 people. I wonder if they would want to watch one of these Netflix series, like 2 episodes a week for a while.
It's a good idea.
Of course, it's a good
neat
idea.
So very early on, when I was first joining the internet, I used to watch. We had a group of people.
World Wide Webs.
Yeah, we all had the same copy. We would do Charlie Chan film night once a week. And we would all start our copies of Charlie Chan, whatever, at the same time. And we would watch and comment. It's primitive of what we're doing now.
Yeah, I started with Rabbit, got too busy with a lot of family stuff, and Matt graciously took over that, as well as the Nice Prices.
Last night, we saw Under the Skin.
Oh, isn't that freaky?
I've been wanting to see that.
It is so weird and creepy, and I still don't know what the hell was going on. I thought it was a great movie. So creepy.
Okay, good. I'm gonna have to see that. I've been wondering about that for a while. Okay, so if you're interested in this, it's on Rabbit. That's rabb.it. And what is your username on Rabbit, Matt?
I don't know.
Well, the reason why I ask is because I know a lot of listeners aren't necessarily on our Facebook group message board, which is where you post about it, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to get the message out to more people.
Okay, hang on one second. I'll let you know.
So if you friend Matt on Rabbit, then I assume you send out a link to everybody on your friend list on Saturday night.
Yeah, I put it on several different places.
Okay.
Okay, it's Matthew Carpenter 558.
Okay. No dots. Is it all lowercase?
It's the M and the C are caps.
Probably doesn't matter.
Matthew Carpenter 558.
558.
All one word.
Mike, I'm going to hijack the show for a minute. Kelly,
You do that.
have you seen Under the Silver Lake?
Yes. Am I gonna? Well, wait. Should I tell you that I liked it before you tell me that you hated it?
I'm like,
You would make an excellent
I
politician.
think I understood it.
Oh, I would not tell you that I understood it at all.
Okay.
But I loved it.
I mean, it's
Is this a
filmed,
recent film?
it's filmed beautifully.
It is the follow-up by the director of It Follows.
Ooh, you just got me
It is,
there.
it is not a horror film.
It's billed as a film noir.
Yes.
And
I kind of buy that.
You know, noir and weird are so closely entangled.
it is like an acid trip through LA.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
It
LA
doesn't-
culture.
It doesn't have the film noir look.
No.
There's not enough black in the film for it to be
Yeah.
really a film noir, but it is a film noirish mystery, I guess.
And yes. Because he's obviously got some sort of code,
Yes.
and he is pursuing something that he really has no business pursuing. So it fits the noir category, but yeah, it's more than that and less than that. And I really need to go back and watch it while I'm high.
So all the time, anytime.
You know, I'm not. It's like sort of loving a Time of Cholera. I read it. I think I understood it. It's about chicks, right?
Of course, chicks and cars. You nailed it. Yeah.
Well, actually, so this is actually about, in theory, this is about women and how Hollywood treats them. In theory,
I think that's part of the theme.
That it is like it's not only the male gaze, it is the male cinematic gaze.
I think we've got two drug-filled thumbs up on this.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, I managed to grab a screener of it several months ago before anyone was talking about it, and I was like, oh, holy shit, I love this film. And then it came out, and everything I've heard is people saying this sucks, and I was like, oh geez, am I completely off on this? I
will tell you what I expected. I'll tell you how weird this film is. I fully expected that Cody Goodfellow was going to show up in it. Am I wrong?
I see where you're going, except this film, and you know how much I love Cody, this film is full of very attractive people.
Try moving your mic up just a bit, like level parallel with your head. And see if
how's that? Is that even better?
That's better. That's
better.
better.
Put it up here.
There's only so much volume we can take of you. So.
There are like five different.
Higher. In fact, mute it. No,
I'm taking me out.
There are like 4 or 5 different plots.
I'm going home. Fuck you guys.
You're already home.
So there are like 4 or 5 different plots and quests and whatnot that go on through this movie, and I don't think any of them are resolved.
Just like life.
Yes.
That's probably why a lot of people hated it. I don't know. For some reason, I was enraptured with it, and I just went with the flow. And at the end of it, I felt satisfied. I just sat there, and I sat there literally thinking, well, I don't know what just happened, but I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
Question.
No.
Were you drinking at the time, Kelly?
That's a question.
Never mind. Okay, so speaking of another weird film, I assume. Matt, did you and the Saturday night group watch Starfish yet?
Yes.
I have not seen this yet. This looks very intriguing to me. I want to know if I should watch it.
I think what you should do is you should go to the kitchen table, put your hand on the table, and then take a hammer and start hitting your fingers.
Okay.
And then you will have had a better time.
You didn't like it.
Well, you know what? I don't need to see her. I don't need to see her.
You never know whether Matt likes a film or not. He's just.
You sit there. You get to watch her sitting on the toilet. You get to watch her talking to her turtle. You get to watch her running out of food. You get to, I don't know, nothing made sense. And some people liked it more than I did. They said it was a metaphor for her recovering from depression. And I thought it was
I
like,
really don't want to see that.
I thought, or she was rapturing up with the evil dead or something. And I always was wondering, well, what about the poor turtle? When she vanished, what happened to the turtle? Did she even care about the turtle?
Now you ruined. I haven't seen it yet. You ruined it for me. The turtle dies.
The turtle died in the rain.
That may be a whole Stephen King connection with the turtle.
It's turtles all the way down, baby.
New female Ninja Turtle.
Some people.
I gotta say though, there was one visual monster on screen for about 10 seconds that was phenomenally, beautifully rendered. It was really creepy.
10 seconds.
Isn't that in the trailer?
I don't know. It looked like some big blob, almost like something from The Mist.
I think, yeah.
So I don't want to discourage you from watching that, Dross, but
all right. Well, you have discouraged me with your yourself in the.
If someone else, I think, if someone else was paying for it, it'd probably be worth your time. Maybe, I don't know.
Time's more precious to me now than ever since I hit 25 recently. Here's a headline on CNET. Midsommar, am I saying that right? Horror movie is so scary it's keeping people up at night. One New York viewer tried to buy cocaine at the theater to get her through the movie. Okay.
What film is it?
So it's scary, I guess. Midsummer, yeah. Okay, I guess it's scary then. I've never been so interested and disgusted by a film at the same time. I can't sleep, wrote one person on social media.
Oh, I can't wait to watch this.
Yeah. What you said, it looked kind of like a Wicker Man type thing, didn't you, Rick?
Yeah, it's got some plot about a sort of pagan community in Scandinavia, I think.
Now, this is from the same guy who did Hereditary.
Yes, Ari Aster. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you guys like Hereditary? I mean, I thought it was overhyped. I thought it was a good horror movie, but would I watch it twice? No.
Well, I loved it, but I wouldn't watch it twice because it's so fucking depressing.
Yeah.
Unlike,
like depressing.
Put it in the same category as The Mist.
Sure. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you like Ari Aster, I found this today too on the Bloody Disgusting website. I'm not going to read out this URL, but just Google Bloody Disgusting and maybe Ari Aster and 6 short films. That should get you there. Here's the headline. Before Hereditary and Midsommar, Ari Aster directed these 6 short films with similar themes. And it looks like they're all available to watch for free online on this very page, as a matter of fact. So, and I had time to read through the synopses of some of them, and yeah, they look interesting. We should check this out.
Are they horror films?
I don't know. Like here's an example. I already closed that window, and then you asked the question. Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Just edit that out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll edit that out of the live show. All right. So here's one called The Turtle's Head, starring that guy who from Office Space.
What, Mitch McConnell?
Is that his name? The one that did the decision,
mind.
Matt?
No, Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader, and he looks like a turtle.
Oh, no, this is the guy from Office Space who got in a car accident. Yeah, and yeah, his dream was to make a jump to conclusions, Matt. And one of the funniest lines in the movie is when they go, "That's a terrible idea. That's one of the worst ideas I've ever heard." And then he does it. The Turtle's Head is really something else. Take that for whatever that means. And it nails that aspect that Astor is so good at, where a narrative veers hard in an unexpected direction and you realize you're in a very different story or playing a role contrary to what you thought. Now, all kidding aside, this is intriguing to me. The Turtle's Head begins as a chauvinistic detective story, complete with hyperbolized voiceover. I like voiceovers if they're done right. And it really plays into the hard-boiled noir genre with its use of music, cinematography, telegraphed clues, and even its typography choices. The Turtle's Head commits, which is why it's so effective and startling when it quickly shifts into a haunting slice of body horror. Never mind. It's 11 and a half minutes long. So, I mean, there's a lot of genius packed in there, baby. Anyway, if you like Hereditary, if you like Midsummer, or if it's intriguing, you should Google that page and watch his short films. Okay, so Rick, I told you I'm not a fan of the new Twilight Zone. I gave it a couple episodes. Interestingly enough, I think a lot of people agree with me because it's got an average 3-star rating out of 5 on Amazon. The show does. But you said that the very last one is really good. You want to talk about that without any spoilers real quick?
The last one, I guessed half hour into it what was going on, but it was fun. It stars the actress from Deadpool 2 who played the Domino.
Oh.
So she does an excellent job. She is
Domino, is that the Good Luck Lady? Domino?
Yeah, the good luck lady.
Oh, I loved her.
Zazie Beetz or something like that.
Yeah, she's pursued by a strange figure on the set of The Twilight Zone.
On the set of The Twilight Zone?
Yes, it's the Twilight Zone TV show.
Oh, we're breaking some fourth wall type
Right.
thing. All right. Well, yeah, that does sound intriguing. Anyone see the trailer for the new Jacob's Ladder movie?
I have absolutely no interest in seeing a remake of a movie that I consider a classic.
Okay, moving on.
I haven't seen the trailer. I'm kind of with Pete on this one. This movie is such a weird movie that I feel like, why would you remake it unless you want to explain it further? And then why would you want to explain it further?
Because that's the whole point, right?
Exactly. This is a movie that that works so well because of what it is right now.
And I remember when I watched it, I had no idea what was going on, and the ending was just so great. I don't care to lose that memory.
Exactly.
Here's why I've never even watched the old Jacob's Ladder. It's not because I don't believe it to be a good movie, because I'm sure it's fantastic. It's because even before I was on the internet very much, somebody spoiled the ending for me. So I've never watched the movie because I know what's going on.
I mean, Here I'm reminded of the Vince Vaughn remake of Psycho.
Oh yeah.
What was the point? Did
Yeah.
you think you were going to make a better movie?
Well, I mean, look at the new Pet Cemetery. It drastically improved on the old one, right?
I haven't seen it yet.
He said, ironically, no, it got trashed in reviews. Pet Cemetery did.
The
That was
only
Oh, go ahead, Rick.
they say the only reason to remake Psycho would be to make Norman Bates more like Robert Blocks than Anthony Perkins.
Yeah, I agreed. But what he did was he did a scene by scene remake.
Right. They're saying it.
But I don't think that Jacob's Ladder is a scene by scene remake.
No, but I'm
Doesn't seem
reminded
like
of the same process. It's sort of
But I agree with you guys. If you already know what's going on, I think it was Kelly who said that the only reason to see it is that it explains it further.
yeah, which can only hurt it.
Huh?
It can only hurt it to explain it further.
Yeah.
yes.
I you know what? After we're off air, I'll tell you guys what I think's going on in that movie, and you can tell me if I'm wrong and I need to watch it. The old one, I mean, the classic one.
We could talk about it now.
Yes, 30-year-old movie.
Like,
I
yeah,
think
you
it's
know what?
spoilers.
At the end of Casablanca, his girlfriend goes off with the husband.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Spoilers on Casablanca.
God, that's only 60 years old.
I'm sorry, I spoiled it. Okay, so plug your ears if you haven't seen I think I'm the one person on earth who probably hasn't seen the classic Jacob's Ladder.
I haven't seen it.
I'm guessing it's all a dream. His new life, and he wakes up like right before he dies and realizes that it was all a dream.
I mean, you're close.
I'm oversimplifying it.
It has become, I think, a trope because of Jacob's Ladder. It was all in his head.
Yeah.
Trope. So you're close enough, maybe. But I don't think that's a reason to avoid the movie. The movie is very good and creepy.
Okay.
Some really groundbreaking visuals
That we still use today.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of, man, I'm going to blank on this. Oh, no, I'm not. An occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge.
It's Owl Creek Bridge, except it's post Vietnam.
Yeah.
And do you all ever watch the Mel Brooks movie To Be or Not to Be?
Yeah.
That's another one. It was a scene by scene remake of a classic movie. There was no reason for him to make that movie except I think he loved it so much and he wanted to be in it. I just didn't see the point of that either. So it's been going on in Hollywood for some time.
All right. Okay. Thumbs down on Jacob's Ladder. Okay, we covered Twilight.
The show or the books?
Twilight
Zone, not Twilight the movies. I'm sorry. I just about lost every listener.
Are you on Team Edward or Team Jacob? Because this is important.
I don't even know what that means.
Sure. Oh, okay. Go ahead and deny it.
I'm on Team Spike and Angel.
Go ahead. Go ahead and deny it. That's fine.
Does that help? If I tell you I'm on Team Angel.
You probably like Jacob.
All right. This being a nihilist. What the fuck is wrong with you, Kelly?
I think that what Matt says is funny sometimes. Sorry.
First of all, I can't believe you're Team Angel.
You mean who she ended up with? She should have ended up with Spike, if that's what you're asking me.
But Jesus Christ, no, it's Cordelia all the way.
Spike tried to rape her. I'm not sure if she did it.
She never went all the way. Or are you?
I was always Team Cordelia.
Team Cordelia for Angel and Team Spike for Buffy.
Hey,
Yeah,
I know we're joking and everything. Mike, did you see that thing that just came out? There was a painfully 20-year anniversary for the Angel cast that was out on Entertainment Tonight.
I did see it on YouTube. I don't usually look at things like that, but I'm such a big fan of Angel. So it's the 20-year reunion.
Yeah.
None of them mention Andy Hallett.
That was interesting, was it? I wonder if something happened.
Well, he died. He was a great guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He died like 2 years after the show went off air.
Oh, I was not aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, Andy Hallett died, and I think the guy who played the Irishman or the Scotsman.
Yeah, Glenn Quinn died before the show even ended.
Yeah, he had a drug problem. I think he died from an overdose, and that was why he was fired. Not because he died, but because he had a drug problem.
That's
you can't die. You're fired. No, it wasn't anything like that.
Was Andy Hallett the karaoke guy?
Yes.
Karaoke demon. Now that said, Glenn Quinn's departure, the name of that particular episode is Hero. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. I mean, geez, the show's 20 fucking years old.
But my girls, I'm watching Buffy from the beginning with my girls right now.
You are a good father. You are a good father. Okay, cancel the social welfare person, do the Raleigh. Okay. Yeah, the name of that episode is Hero. And of course, you think it's Angel because his name appears somewhere in the title of the show. Nobody got that joke, did you?
Yeah, I got it. I just ignored it.
It just wasn't funny, right?
Yeah. Plus, I think we're getting drunker as we drink.
You know what? From now on, I'm going to assume that when you don't laugh at my jokes, that you don't think they're funny.
Well,
that's probably
a good
assumption.
Start laughing. But until
anyway.
Well, I watched that thing on YouTube also, and I loved it, and I was like, I think I might be ready for an entire rewatch of the series because they touched on so many episodes and talked about other things, and boy, they all looked fucking great. Everybody was happy, and they all seemed to connect really well with each other. I was wondering why Andy Hallett was not there and why he wasn't mentioned in UN.
I think it was very disrespectful that he was not mentioned, okay? But you just inadvertently gave me a segue for something I wanted to talk about today, Kelly. First of all, let me just say this. I think it was episode 9. It was titled Hero. And of course, you think it's about Angel because, I mean, from the very beginning, Cordelia is like, she wants to shoot it's really stupid. She wants to shoot a commercial to bring more business to Angel Investigations. And, you know, basically saying that Angel's the hero and he saves everybody and blah, blah, so on and so forth. What you end up finding out at the end of that show, at the end of that episode, is that there's a hero that's prophesized for these people, these sub-demon type people. And throughout the entire episode, you think that they're talking about Angel, and there's this one kid doesn't believe it for a second. He thinks it's all bullshit. And Glenn Quinn Doyle on the show, he says, I don't know if I believe it either, but I do know Angel, and he'll do everything he can to help your people. Well, it turns out at the end that the title of the episode, Hero, is not talking about Angel at all. The hero that was coming to these people in the last days of the 20th century was Doyle, and he gave his life for him. It's a very, very, very good episode. You know, I don't know anything about Glenn Quinn's drug problems. I'm sure you're right, but if that's why he exited the show, it was sure done really well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Conan O'Brien, and then I'm going to go back to Angel. This will make sense later. This is from earlier this year.
More alcohol.
Just keep drinking. This is at the Vice.com website. Here's the headline. Conan O'Brien wants you to know that nothing matters and you're all going to die. Quote, eventually all of our graves go unattended. Conan did earlier this year, he did an interview with Dave Itzkoff of the New York Times, and blah, 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 moving down. But in between some lively chatter, I'm reading from Vice.com now, about his creative process and personal life. O'Brien took a brief break to offer us readers an important reminder about our own lives, namely that they are insignificant and mean absolutely nothing to the cold and indifferent universe. This might sound familiar to fans of cosmic horror and Lovecraft. It all started casually enough with a question from Itzkoff about how O'Brien wants to go out and, his final show or whatever, before O'Brien veered into an existential pit of despair. And he said, this is quoting O'Brien now, at this point in my career, I could go out with a grand 21-gun salute, climb into a rocket, and the entire Supreme Court walks out and they jointly press a button. I'm shot up high into the air and there's an explosion and it's orange and it spells good night and God love, O'Brien said. 2 years later, it's going to be who's Conan? This is going to sound grim, but eventually, great quote, eventually all of our graves go untended. He just keeps getting darker from there. Itzkoff says, you're right, that does sound grim. O'Brien says, sorry, Calvin Coolidge was a pretty popular president. I've been to his grave in Vermont. It has the presidential seal on it. Nobody was there. And by the way, I'm the only late night host that's been to Calvin Coolidge's grave. I think that's what separates me from the other hosts. That's probably true. I had a great conversation with Albert Brooks once. When I met him for the first time, I was kind of stammering. I said, you make movies. They live on forever. I just do these late night shows. I'm feeling a little something here. I just do these late night shows. They get lost. They're never seen again. And who cares? And he looked at me and he said, what are you talking about? None of it matters. And Conan goes, none of it matters? And Albert Brooks goes, no, that's the secret. In 1940, people said Clark Gable is the face of the 20th century. Who fucking thinks about Clark Gable anymore? It doesn't matter. You'll be forgotten. I'll be forgotten. We'll all be forgotten. Continuing into the Vice article, somehow, though, this bleak thought spiral apparently does not get O'Brien down. As he puts it, it actually gives him a sense of relief. He says, it's so funny because you'd think that would depress me. I was walking on air after that. Now, what this has to do with Angel is...
beats the shit out of me.
Beats the shit out of me. I
really want to see where this goes.
Shit, I forgot. No.
Perfect.
No, I didn't forget. There's a... Kelly, you were talking about the themes that they were discussing in the 20-year anniversary and how it made you want to rewatch the show. Right. And you're not wrong. Here's a scene from the second season. It's a conversation between Kate and Angel. Kate's a cop who recently was fired.
Right.
And she's over at Angel's office. They're both having coffee, and he had just saved her from coffee. He had just saved her the night before from suicide, Pillathon. And she says, I feel like such an idiot. And Angel recently had done a lot of stupid things himself. And he said, a lot of that going around. Kate says, I just couldn't. My whole life has been about being a cop. If I'm not part of the force, it's like nothing I do means anything. Angel says, it doesn't. Way to cheer Kate up, right? Kate says, doesn't what? Angel says, mean anything. In the greater scheme, in the big picture, nothing we do matters. There's no grand plan, no big win. Kate says, excuse me, you seem kind of chipper about that. And this is the part that really gets me, these next three lines or so. Angel says, well, I guess I kind of worked it out. If there's no great glorious end to all this, if nothing we do matters, then all that matters is what we do. because that's all there is. What we do now, today. I fought for so long for redemption, for a reward, finally, just to beat the other guy. And now, but I never got it. And Kate says, now you do. And Angel says, not all of it, but all I want to do is help. I want to help because I don't think that people should suffer as they do. Because if there's no bigger meaning than the smallest act of kindness is the greatest thing in the world. You know, and I thought about John Skip too, you guys, because he's got, I'm not a close personal friend of John Skip's, but I think you are, Kelly.
I'm close to John, yeah.
Yeah, and I said something like this at a convention, and I could see John in the back nodding enthusiastically, like his head almost fell off. He's so agreed with it so much. And that's, yeah, if nothing matters, then what matters is what we do, how we treat other people, because we're all stuck in this, you could say at times, terrible, terrible boat together. So, yeah, Angel is definitely a show worth watching. Don't look puzzled, Kelly. This was brilliant.
I'm thinking about it, and well, actually, no, I'm trying to pretend I'm thinking about it, but I'm really thinking that my drink is empty, and I'm like, how do I gracefully get out of here?
Well, you could just
next drink. I'm just going to agree with what you said.
Well, you should accept that as an axiom. I mean, that's what you should always do.
All right. Can I go to a different subject?
God, please.
In other words, that was boring. Okay, go
No,
on.
it was very interesting. If I'd been paying attention, I'm sure I would have liked it.
Wait a second. Can I interrupt because I thought of something about me?
It's a good thing I don't have an ego. I tell you, it's a very good thing. But enough about me. What did you guys think about what I said?
Okay, so there was a comment on the YouTube live board. And Rick probably will have a better answer, but someone wanted to know, what's the best way to jump into the Doc Savage universe? And the way I did it
we're going from existential kindness to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Go on.
Okay. My view when I was a kid was I just picked up the first book that I saw on the shelf and I started reading it. I mean, you can jump into the stories anywhere. The ones that were published in the original pulp magazines were mostly by Lester Dent. They're all under the pseudonym Kenneth Robeson. They all kind of explain Doc's origin in a few pages.
Yeah, it's kind of like Hardy Boys. You don't have to read them in order.
Right, and there's you can get, I think even the little paperback copies are kind of expensive now, but they're Kindle editions. So if you want to just pick up any old one of them, I'd pick up one of the originals. I don't know if any of the newer ones are good because I stopped reading them.
You can pick up the reprints by Tony Tull and Sanctum Press, which give you the original pulp illustrations.
So, I mean, I don't know if Rick has a different idea. I think if that's something that you want to get into, just pick up any old one of them and just see if you like it.
I agree with you, but I just have to make one important point. From the 30s. You see, he continued into the 40s. In the 40s, the series changes and becomes more realistic, and it's a different feel. So any Doc from the 1930s.
You know what that reminds me of? I wasn't joking about Hardy Boys. They're really, you can read them out of order.
If you say 3 investigators are going to come through and smack you.
3 investigators is far superior to Hardy Boys, but no, I was not going to bring them up. What I was going to bring up was, it was interesting, and I only found this out yesterday, is that, excuse me, the Hardy Boys that were written in like the late 20s and in the 30s were very anti-establishment as compared to the ones that were written in the 50s. I don't know if you knew this, Rick, but complete attitude change.
I did not ever read the Hardy Boys. So.
Okay. Mark the time and date. I knew something that Rick did not know. Somebody write that down for me.
There's a lot I don't know.
There's a lot more I don't know, though.
Here's the problem, Rick. You know the things that you don't know.
All right.
We we don't know the things that we don't know.
Yeah, what you don't know that you don't know.
There are known unknowns and unknown knowns, and known.
I don't know about this discussion.
Well, just to get back to Doc Savage, all the pulp heroes of the 1930s, at least before Pearl Harbor, which changes the whole way pulp heroes are presented, because they couldn't be superhumans anymore. Because we were now in a war effort, which every man was contributing to. Were written in such a way that you could pick up anyone, and you get an explanation of the quick paragraph of the origin of any character, and you wouldn't really have missed anything.
I did love all those covers on the old Bantam paperbacks. I had no idea they were reprints. I had no idea Kenneth Robeson was a pseudonym. Decades later, when I found out it was a pseudonym, I was just so incensed.
Yeah, in the late 70s, when I was reading all those Hardy Boys books, I mean, dozens and dozens of them, I thought, man, that Franklin W. Dixon can really put out a lot of books, man.
Well, when I was reading Doc, I suddenly looked at the copyright and I'm going, this is from the 30s. I kept imagining it taking place in modern times.
Yeah.
When I was reading it as a kid, there were things you would catch up on if you were a more sophisticated reader.
Just be thankful you're not reading Perry Rodin.
The German note, that's a German pulp science fiction series.
Yeah.
On another note, I think I just saw Kelly Young sneaking in a couple of drinks from a Pepsi, a non-alcoholic drink.
All right, you guys. Here's the problem. And I don't think it's a problem, but my employers have spoken to me about it, and they say that maybe, Kelly, you drink a little too much.
It's not you, it's me.
Wait, you're in.
What I'd like to bring to everybody is something I like to call Pepsi Zero.
Oh, Jesus.
Which means it has no alcohol.
Drink half of this, and then you pour a little whiskey in. Nobody knows what's going on.
That's true. That's true. So this show is sponsored by Pepsi Zero and alcohol.
It also, I credit my slim figure to this.
Pepsi Zero.
Okay. I don't know if you guys watched the episode 2 weeks ago that I did with John Lang and Paul Tremblay and Laird Barron, but
That's quite fun.
Yeah, thank you. I started off the show by saying I need to thank my new sponsor, Mount Olive Dill Pickles. And
How did Paul react to that?
Paul's like, this interview's over. In case Paul watches the show. I don't think he does. I know John does. So
destroyed the pickle industry in this country.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Paul's doing, and he needs to be stopped.
No, I'm talking about Mount Olive.
Oh, okay. What else we have to talk about? Oh, did you guys hear about this Good Omens petition? Did you guys remember this?
Yeah, I find it fucking ridiculous. People are that damn stupid.
Heard about it and loved it.
Well, okay, somebody besides me explain what this says. I'm.
So, people were incensed by some of the religious iconography in Good Omens, and put a petition together to send to Netflix to tell them to cancel the show.
First of all, it's a miniseries. We're going to cancel the miniseries. No more seasons.
Second of all, it's not on Netflix. They sent the petition to Netflix. Netflix is not airing the show.
What Netflix agreed to do to cancel it. So in retaliation, Amazon said they were going to cancel Stranger Things.
Exactly.
Yeah, I will say that 3 days after I read that article, Netflix announced that they had signed a deal to do Sandman.
Oh, interesting.
And thank you for the free promotion petition.
By the way, that Netflix Sandman series can't be any good, right? There's no way they can deal with all of the stuff going in Sandman in a TV series unless they're willing to make it a 15-year-long series.
I think they committed to at least one season, and it will be, from what I've read, it's the most expensive deal they've ever done.
Oh wow! Okay, well, all of a sudden
that's
I'm
not
interested
necessarily
again.
I
that's
thought
not
Lord of the
necessarily a
Rings.
plus.
I thought Lord of the Rings was the most expensive
They,
deal.
they could be given a lot of
That's
money.
Amazon, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, it was me. I sent the petition.
You know, they were spending a lot of money on Rome, and the show was terrific. They got halfway done with season 2, and they said, "Okay, we're going to end it instead of in 5 seasons. We're going to end it at the end of this season because it just cost too much money." And so they had to cram like the whole end of the story into the last couple of episodes. You know, if they do a very expensive, successful series and it doesn't make its money back, then we won't get a season 2.
It's a good point. And how do we? I mean, Netflix is so stingy in telling how they know what is actually going on with viewers and all of that stuff. How do we know if a show is successful on Netflix?
Well, let me tell you something about Netflix, Kelly.
Oh, all right.
Netflix is doomed. I'm not kidding. You heard it here first. Somebody's going to buy Netflix. Amazon's going to buy Netflix.
It's actually. Are we talking seriously?
We're talking seriously. Yeah,
Okay,
they're
so
borrowing
Netflix is
money,
$9 billion in the hole right now.
and Amazon has more money than God.
Well, I think that we're probably going to see Apple purchase Netflix because Apple doesn't have a legitimate streaming service right now.
Oh, what are you
Like,
saying? Apple TV is not a legit. What?
I'm just saying what I have heard, which is that Apple is probably going to
I
purchase
occasionally
Netflix.
hear people say, "Yeah, I'm going to watch that on iTunes." I'm like, "What? What? That?"
Yeah, iTunes just got broken up.
Yeah, into podcast, music, and streaming, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
So yeah, what I have heard is that probably Apple is going to pick up Netflix, but to the tune of, 40 or 50 billion dollars. There's a lot of money to be made if you own Netflix.
I thought you said they were 900 billion in the hole.
They're 9 billion.
Oh
in the
no,
hole.
that does, yeah.
All right, you guys. I gotta go.
Here.
So it was great to see everybody.
Yeah, that was a good show.
But we got Ben back.
Hey Ben,
No one let Kelly leave. How dare he?
I thought he really was leaving for a second. I'm really glad you brought up iTunes, Kelly, because hey Ben, glad you could make it. We get this show gets reviews on iTunes, which is very, very important. And if some genius out there, Van Handelman, could get me to get this show on Spotify, because I'm failing so far to do this, that would be great. Because I think Spotify is probably almost as important as iTunes, right?
And SoundCloud, and we should probably work on Google Play Music as well, because there's a lot of people that get podcasts through there now too.
I think I'm on Google Play Music.
Good.
But yes, I really could use some help on this. But we'll discuss that off air, because that gonna just spitballing here, that probably bore the listeners. All right, I'm gonna read a few iTunes, Apple Podcasts, I guess, reviews of the Lovecraft eZine podcast. Before I do this is important. Reviews are important. If everybody out there listening could leave an extremely honest 5-star review on iTunes, I would really appreciate it. So there we go. All right, here's a good one from last month. Lovecraft eZine podcast keeps me shrieking with laughter. I think they're talking about you, Kelly. Mike Davis and crew, thanks for your great guests you've had over the years. You should know your fans appreciate all the effort you put into the show. Love your panelists, especially the Eldritch regulars.
I don't put any effort into this.
I think that's you. Mike,
Is that like a breakfast cereal for old people? The Eldritch regulars?
You may have just hit on something. Lovecraft eZine breakfast cereal. Mike, thanks also for highlighting availability of horror fiction and audio format. I was blown away listening to Soren Narnia's last show. Pseudopod and Nightmare Magazine are also fun. What you? Okay. Anyway, yes. Thank you very much.
Signed, Kelly Young.
Signed, Kelly Young. Love this podcast. This is a new one. As soon as a podcast is released, I have to listen. They have a great panel of hosts and great guests. They're not talking about you on either of those, Kelly. This is a must listen to podcast. Most of these are very positive. I don't think this guy understands this is a live show on crappy Google Hangouts that Ben is going to fix for me soon. The show has excellent guests and discussions about horror, science fiction, and adjacent pop culture. They need to clean up the audio. Guests and panel can sound terribly and are frequently dropped. I don't know if it's that bad.
Welcome to live radio.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but
Look, if we have a guest that is, they just started using the internet, and I don't know, like there's that guy Cody Goodfellow. I think he lives out in the woods or something, where there's like, he's on dial-up. Like
he doesn't have a beard anymore.
Yeah, we can't control this. It's
I think Cody's signal would have been stronger if he had the beard to help him sell it. So
he's trolling everybody. Every time you see him, he's got a different look.
Hey, Kelly. This was a picture of margaritas that I started at the beginning of this show.
I love you so much, Pete.
I love you too, Kelly.
Anyway, give me a few more honest 5-star reviews to knock this bad audio guy off the top. But I do, all that said, I do really appreciate those who have taken the time to review because it honestly really does help.
Yeah, to stop.
Yeah. Okay, I'll get back to you.
Oh, my head hurts.
That's because you're actually on the show. You can also email us if you like the show, but an iTunes review is better. And when we get on Spotify is better too. Lovecraft@gmail.com.
Matt, think how much your head hurts. Imagine poor Rick, who's like a noted award-winning scholar, and he's stuck on a panel.
That's true.
Hey, he legitimizes us.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. Except I think I was going to use the word class.
All right, since I got mentioned, I got a question.
Okay.
Just since we have both you and Ben back on the show.
Yeah, I'm back on the show.
What's going on with Swamp Thing? It gets rave reviews and it gets canceled by the DC streaming service?
Benjamin?
Well, I mean, Kelly probably knows more about this than I do. Part of it was their budget. They just were way over budget.
It was not the Georgia tax thing like we thought.
No, it wasn't. That was debunked. But they were still like, I think it was like $30 million for the whole season. 40 million. It was some crazy high number.
I think it was higher than that.
Yeah, and so it's not so much that like, oh, they got screwed on taxes or anything like that. It's that like the studio saw how much they spent on just 10 episodes and cut them off right there and just said, no, we can't do this. And as much as I want to blame Warner Brothers and DC, like honestly, if the budget was that high, I don't think this show would have survived on any network really.
They shouldn't have started to begin with. There's a thing called planning if the budget's that high. But all it does is alienate. I mean, I canceled my DC Universe subscription.
Oh, you did? Are you not watching Swamp Thing at all then?
Hell no. Not if there's not going to be a season 2.
That's ridiculous.
What's the point? There's probably a cliffhanger.
Well, yeah, but so you don't want to watch an amazing story until it ends? I mean, even if it's got
so many hours in my life, I've got to prioritize.
Do you know how many shows that I've watched that have no ending?
Absolutely. Me too.
I don't, you know what?
Knowing that they didn't have an ending.
I don't disagree with that.
Planned endings that had no ending, like Lost or Twin Peaks.
Lost
is not an argument you want to make here.
Yeah,
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to tie this. This reminds me of Buffy, where Buffy is like they talked about it where dusting a vampire was really, really expensive.
Yeah.
So
And now
they
we
have
can get
the,
that as a plug-in.
How does that?
well, because back in the day, it cost like I'm probably wrong, but I think it was like $1 million.
It was very expensive to do that effect.
So they're like, you only get it like once.
Which
Once
is
an
why, and I don't know how many people remember this. Blade came out, I think, when Buffy was in season 2 or 3. In the first fight scene in Blade, he kills like 50 vampires, and that was this big deal because it was like, oh look, like they're all disintegrating all over the place. Look how expensive and crazy this is.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you got it once an episode.
This is sort of like Smallville when Clark super speeds everywhere. You hear the whoosh, and then he enters the room.
Right.
You don't see him super speeding.
Right. You do the effect once, you establish what the whoosh is meant to do,
Right.
and then you never have to do it again.
Well, I wouldn't say they never did it again. I mean, they did it, but they did it. They not did it more than they did it, if that makes sense.
They had a special on the making of the Incredible Hulk series with Lou Ferrigno, and the restriction there was they could only have 2 transformation scenes.
Right.
They only have the Hulk twice per episode.
I learned that from Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
There was a big Mr. Rogers Incredible Hulk episode where they even showed how they made the transformation scene and
Oh,
everything.
God, I forgot about that.
Well, while we're still talking about Swamp Thing, I know that Benjamin is watching it. Is anybody else watching it?
As soon as DC Universe gets its shit together, I'll be back.
It's really good, and that's the frustrating part, is that it's a really good horror weekly series with some really cool effects, and you can tell it is super expensive. And yeah, that is the frustrating part, is knowing that it's going to end here shortly and not be renewed. I do have a mole there, and there is some hope that maybe perhaps Netflix will pick it up for a second season, because probably not a big surprise to everybody, DC Universe is going away.
Really?
Yeah, it's not going to be
That's
able to.
why I canceled.
And on top of that, the Netflix has already been subsidizing all their production because Titans and Doom Patrol and Young Justice, Young Justice, right? That's the name of the show.
Yeah.
Whatever. Those are everywhere but the United States. Those are on Netflix.
Yeah.
But Kelly, it's okay because Batwoman is about to premiere.
That one looks cool, though, doesn't it?
No, it looks stupid as hell.
No, I
Oh,
watched the episode. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it looked cool. So.
I've seen nothing but the trailers. Here's the problem with Batwoman, and before we get some off the people labeling me a misogynist, that's not the issue I have, because I do think Supergirl is a quality show. Here is the problem I have with Supergirl and now Batwoman on the CW. They trash their male counterparts to establish themselves. If we're talking all these alternate universes that was started with Green Arrow and the Flash, why can't there be an alternate universe where Supergirl was the only Kryptonian who came to Earth? I mean, what's wrong with that?
Why do you hate women so much?
Yeah. No, I mean, so I don't know that that's. I can't agree with that interpretation.
And I'm going to side with Pete on this, and the reason is
Fuck
generally
you all.
the way this works is the shows always promote their version or their character as being. So to give another example, Titans focuses on Dick Grayson. So Batman is not a good guy to the show. He is like this the season finale made him look like a full-out villain.
Well, but that was. Can I say that not real? Has enough time gone by?
I love
what
it
I'm saying
so
is
much. I'm going to
these
fight
shows-
Benjamin on this.
These shows try to focus on whichever character is the star. So in Supergirl's case, it's not that, we're doing this to undermine male superheroes. It's that we need Supergirl to be better than Superman because Supergirl's the star and Superman's a guest star.
But what I'm saying is that it's a false dichotomy. It doesn't have to be that Superman is not as strong as Supergirl in order for him to exist in the Supergirl universe. In Batwoman, it does not have to be that Batman just got fed up with Gotham and gave up on everybody. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Well, and
We
to be
don't know
clear,
that.
both of these plot points do come from the comic books.
Right.
So in Batwoman, they're hearkening to Dark Knight Returns, where Batman retires for 10 years and blah blah blah. And in Supergirl, believe it or not, in Crisis on Infinite Earth, Supergirl is the stronger one. She's full out because she spent more time on Krypton, or I don't remember what the explanation is,
Right.
but she's actually stronger than Superman, which is why,
Yeah.
you know.
And so so I'm watching Supergirl with the girls, and I think there's a very nice plot point here. Lois Lane is pregnant.
Yeah, that's why Superman and Lois Lane are going to leave Earth.
Right. There's no, and he feels very good about leaving the world in her hands.
Yeah, but here's my point. Superman has been doing this for, let's say, 15 years before Supergirl ever came along. And he makes a statement to her like, there's no need for a Superman if there's a Supergirl because you're stronger than me. What? She's been doing this for 2 years. I don't care if she's male or female. You wouldn't. How would he say that to Connor Kent, for example? If he said it to Connor Kent, it wouldn't make sense either. If he said that to Superboy. So it's not about, as I think Supergirl's a very important show. I think girls, I mean, it's obvious that girls need shows like this to look up to. But I think they're creating false dichotomies that they don't need to create. That's all I'm saying.
I'd like to point out that I think Benjamin is a super nerd, but I agree with everything he said earlier.
Okay.
Dating back to when?
Look, I was right about the milk and cereal thing, wasn't I? No, I wasn't right about that either. I think it's very easy to, you know, the Batwoman trailer has got like a huge percentage of dislikes compared to likes. And it's really so easy to jump to, oh, a bunch of male chauvinists here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure they are. There are many of them. But lately, I think the last few years, we've been living in this false dichotomy world. You're either against us, you're either with us, or you're against us. There's no nuance on this planet anymore. You can't say, Batwoman can't say, I'm better than Batman. She just can say, why can't she just say, he's gone, I'm going to follow in his footsteps, or I'm going to do it my way.
Well, I'm going to watch the show.
I'm going to watch the show too.
So let's see what happens.
Yeah. So anyway, to conclude, before I get hate mail, it's not about, I don't think there should be female shows, and I don't think there should be a Batwoman show. I think the CW hates Superman and hates Batman for whatever reason. And of course, Flash is just no longer about the Flash. It's about Flash captaining all the new superheroes who come along, right? So,
Which is the same problem that happened with Arrow. And I
mean,
I loved the cast of both those shows at some point, and then I haven't watched any of them in like 2 years now. So
yeah, same here. I loved that first season of The Flash so much.
Well, look, the only problem I have with The Flash is that every episode now is about every season is about a speedster and time travel.
Right.
There are no other story arcs.
And
we got
Andy married his stepsister. Let's throw that in.
Well, even my girls are bothered by that.
I'm just saying, in the Catholic Church, that's not even legal.
Your girls
It
are.
violates canon law.
Wait a minute, Pete. You said your girls are bothered by that?
Well, yeah, because they call the same person dad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He grew up in the same.
You know what
house.
would have been really kind of cool is if he had married his stepfather. Then that would have been really awkward at party.
He grew up in the same household with this girl. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's his sister. There was no other weather woman on the planet. Okay, you had to date his sister and marry her. Okay, it's stupid.
She is pretty hot, though. You got to admit that.
And there it is. There's the comment that we will get the mail about.
No,
Yeah.
see,
Oh, that's the comment. Jeez.
No,
He
we're
was
gonna
calling
get the
her
mail about
birthday.
Mike Davis hates Supergirl and
Right.
Batwoman because he's sexist.
I-
That's
Right.
what we're gonna get the mail about.
I haven't watched Supergirl lately, but I did really love the first season of it. The first season was so good. But a lot of these CW shows, and that one was technically not a CW show that season, but they have like a really great start and a really great premise. And then I don't know if it's someone else takes over or they run out of ideas or they're just, it's time for the show to end and no one does it. And I don't understand how Supernatural avoided this problem because that's a CW show. And I'm excited about season 15.
Yeah,
And-
you raise a really good point. Like I said, I had low expectations for Flash, season 1. And the first episode, especially at the end of that first episode, blew me the hell away. I mean, I loved it. And you're right. Supernatural's avoided it. What are you typing, Young?
What
Fuck.
kind of keep-
Sorry, I'm on a sex porn site also. So
Oh, okay. That's
So
what
what none of you guys have mentioned is Legends of Tomorrow.
Well, before we do that, can we just all agree what a kick-ass finale Supernatural season 14 was?
Yes, it was.
I wanted that to be the end of the show, to be honest.
Really?
No, that's-
Okay, so it ended in a way that it's like, I feel like the series has to end. There's no way the brothers can end alive and happy at the end of this show, right?
I don't know.
I don't feel like it can be. They've made a point of, for the last 14 years, not being alive and happy. And so
It's like the anti-Buffy.
Right.
Maybe they'll both die and go to heaven with their parents, and it'll be Jack and Castiel continuing the.
I feel like the only way the show can end well is with them going down fighting. And I thought this was the final episode, and I was like, fantastic. And then I found out there was another season.
Oh man! All right, so turn your ears off if you haven't seen the last season the last episode of season 14 of Supernatural, because I got to talk about this.
Yeah, I just want to say up front, this is my favorite episode of Supernatural.
Yeah.
I love that,
Me
and
too.
and I say this, there are some classic episodes like where they went to the real world and they were inhabiting the actors that play them, like crazy stuff like that were fun.
The one where they
but-
went to heaven was pretty classic, too.
Right, but this one, just the minute Chuck showed up, it was like, ooh, wow, okay, where are they going with this? I didn't know he was in this season. And then just every new thing that happened, it was like, wait, what's going on here? And Jack was like a character that I kind of hated in the first half of the season, and then kind of got really intrigued on where they were going. And then how could you not love Jack at the end of that episode?
That's exactly right. You know, you think they're setting up Jack to be the big bad. He's burned out his soul, but remember, he burnt out his soul protecting the Winchesters. So now he has no soul, just like Sam did for a while. But yet, he knows enough, instead of obliterating the Winchesters and Castiel, as he could do. I mean, he's the second most powerful creature in creation, apparently. And he doesn't. He gets down on his knees in front of Dean and basically says, kill me. I know this is the right thing to do. I can't feel it, but this is what you would want me to do, or something to that effect.
Yeah, and it was, that moment was so, I don't know, like I'm sitting there, I was on the edge of my seat, literally. Even now I can feel like the emotions from that episode.
I told you you'd love it, didn't I?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I didn't see how that season could end in that kind of way, because the first half of the season, it was kind of wandering. I didn't feel like they had a good plan. But even like, there's a great line when they're talking to Chuck in the bunker, and he says, it's like, oh, well, you want to fight Leviathans? Here you go, Leviathans. And he's like, British men of letters? I mean, it's kind of weak, but sure, but let's do that. And they even acknowledged, like, yeah, we've made some missteps here and there. We haven't always upped the ante. And just that ending where Sam tries to shoot Chuck, and then like Chuck's like, "Fine, that's it. We're done," and just leaves and ends
That's the way you want it.
Yeah.
Story's over. The apocalypse comes and everything. He undoes every good thing they've ever done for the last 14 years. Although I got to mention in the bunker, one of my favorite moments was when Dean grabs the guitar from God and starts slamming it on the floor. How do you do that to God?
But there's so many moments. I mean, the episode where they brought Jeffrey Dean Morgan back was, like, I knew it was coming. I knew about the episode because it was a big news story and everything, and they handled it perfectly.
See, I don't think it was wandering, Ben. What I think was that they were setting up a red herring big bad in the form of the Michael from the alternate universe. You thought he's going to be the big bad in season 14, and suddenly he's not. Suddenly he's dead, as powerful as he was. Then you think, oh, okay, Jack's going to be the big bad. And into the very end of the season, very last episode, no, Jack, without a soul, still has integrity. You fall in love with the guy all over again. And then that perfect Motorhead song coming in. Oh, man.
Just, I don't know.
Now, before we move on, I have to know. I got to know. Because I told you that I thought it was my favorite season ender ever in Supernatural, and you said better than season 5, and I thought, I don't know, apples and oranges, probably not better than the end of season 5. So what do you think now?
No, it's way better than the end of season 5.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Because they took.
I disagree, but
yes,
I mean,
you don't know.
I understand. My reasoning is because at the end of season 5, they didn't really. I mean, at that point, they knew a season 6 was coming, but they didn't write for a season 6. They wanted a 5-season show, and that was going to be the end of it. But they know that season 15 is the end. So this just built perfectly, I think, into whatever we're getting next. Which, yeah. I mean, like Kelly said, this looks like a last episode. Like, there's like all these zombies coming after them, and there's ghosts everywhere, and everything's ending.
Not just that, but how do you beat God? He didn't just create this universe. He created an infinity of universes.
Yeah. He created that gun that could literally kill anything, and Sam used it on him, and it didn't work. So what does work?
And you find out that this guy, the creator of everything that you look up to, is actually kind of an asshole. He sees all of his creation as playthings, as entertainment. There's no empathy there at all. But it's really interesting. How do you beat God? Well, Jack wakes up in the empty, and the empty smiles at him, and Death is there saying to Jack, we got to talk. So Jack's not sleeping in the empty. These three are now going to be conspiring against God, is the way I read it.
It makes me also wonder, because Lucifer was also woken up in the empty.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if he's going to factor into this as well.
But they did establish the previous season that the empty, God has no power over the empty. If you remember that.
I believe you. I just can't remember.
I'll
have to go back and.
All right, everybody else looks incredibly bored. So.
Let me just say this: what Angel screwed up with bringing a son in and then aging him rapidly and making him the big bad, Supernatural got right.
That's very true.
So I remember this storyline playing out in Angel and just being like, fuck, will they just get rid of this guy? And when it started in Supernatural, I thought, oh no. And I ended up just I loved Jack as a character.
Yeah.
So.
They really lucked out with that actor they picked. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how, like, their casting director deserves some major awards because.
Well, you're right, but it's not just the actor. It's the writers who get so little credit compared to the actors.
Absolutely.
I mean, I fully credit. I mean, they had the creator of The Tick is, or at least was, one of the main writers of the show, and wrote many of the best episodes. I do think that the writers deserve more of the credit than anybody. I'm just saying that actor portrayed like the emotion and that kind of naivete and all of that stuff so well that I think a lot of younger actors, they can't do it properly. They either come across as really stupid or really not genuine. But the actor that plays Jack,
or really whiny like Connor on Angel, which
Yes.
Kelly just brought up, or Dawn on Buffy, who was annoying as hell as well.
Yeah, and this actor doesn't do that. And obviously the writers are a big part of that. The directors are the ones directing the actor to actually, you know, hey, you maybe didn't do that scene great. Here, let's try this again. But this combination of people, it's, I don't know, Jack, especially the last few episodes this season was, I couldn't believe how much I was enjoying his character and what they've done. And that ending, I don't know. I mean, I watched the ending like 3 times trying to like process what was happening. If anyone's not watched the show, you have about 307 episodes to get through before the new season starts. I'm trying to
get right on that.
I'm forcing my son to watch it. He has to watch a couple episodes a day.
He's got a gun to his head?
No, but I mean, he can't play Fortnite until he's watched his episodes of Supernatural. So.
Oh, I was going to say, because you were in the Marines, I don't know if you're just making this poor kid do that.
No. It took like 5 episodes for him to, because he's a child, and he's like, oh, they talk so much, and I'm like, the show's like all violence and jokes. I don't know what you're talking about, but he finally started paying attention.
Wait till he gets to the episode where Dean is asking Sam what MySpace is.
Oh God!
And he's like, "Is it a porn site?" You know, okay, you're in 2005, all right.
But it's, I mean, this show really, I would say this show holds up. I'm actually looking forward when it ends, going back and trying to watch, you know, from the beginning and seeing if I can do it, because I've been watching since season 4, and it's kind of, it's one of those things where I don't even just think about how long the show's been on because I've been watching it for so long.
Yeah.
It reminds me of how I felt at the end of X-Files, except this is even longer.
Matt, you want to talk about Sam Gafford?
Yeah. Have you all met Sam Gafford? He's been a fixture at Necronomicon. He is a expert scholar on William Hope Hodgson, and edits and publishes the journal Sargasso. A few issues have come out. It's a Hodgson scholarship. He is the publisher of Ulthar Press. He's a notable collector of comic books. He's really a nice guy. He's very shy and retiring. He recently suffered a heart attack, and I have no idea how ill he is, but he was going to undergo surgery. So he is another one of our little circle who's suffering from an illness right now. I guess the best thing you could do to express support is go to Ulthar Press and buy some of his products. He wrote a novel, was it The House of Nodens, available through the Dark Regions. You could buy a copy of that, or go buy a couple of copies of Sargasso off of Amazon. It would just put a little money into his pocket when they probably need it for medical bills.
He wrote a collection of short stories too.
Yeah. Rain was in the time, I think.
You know, Joe got hurt. I've had health problems, and my son has had health problems, and others have had health problems, and now Sam Gafford has had a heart attack. And you know, maybe it does seem sometimes lately that that's happening. You know, but it's not like we have to give a fortune. It's just that if everybody gives a little, then it adds up. You know, and even those with insurance, if you're in America, it's amazing what it does not cover. So yeah.
No, and Sam always brings great books to Necronomicon.
Yeah.
And I really hope that somebody can either substitute for him, or he'll be better by then. we'll see.
He also, they're the very first, at the time, the only graphic novel story of H.P. Lovecraft's life, Some Notes on a Non-Entity. He did the prose for that.
Yeah, that's right.
I think
I was trying
Jason
to-
Eckhart did the illustrations. That's
Yeah.
also, you can get that on Amazon too. It'll just give his family a little bit of money in a time of need. And these are great books. It's like you're not doing yourself, you're really helping yourself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Necronomicon's coming up in 8 weeks or so?
Yes.
I hope to get Neil's the organizer, on the show between now and then. We just have to figure out a date. Excuse me. And he can talk about Necronomicon. Is everybody going?
I am going. I'm going to be challenged, but I'm going.
I already put my money down, and it was a lot, so I better be going.
I will
Plane
be.
tickets- ugh.
I will be there with my son, Ethan. I'm going to get there a day early. I'm going to try and go to the Rhode Island Historical Society and see if I can dig up old medical records. I've never been able to do it yet, but I will be there.
Rick?
Unfortunately, I'm not going for health reasons.
Kelly?
I can barely stand seeing you guys on this podcast, so there's no way I want to see you in person.
So
No,
true.
I'm not going.
I
You
can't.
just trying to avoid those drinks you owe me.
Make it to the Lovecraft Film Festival, and then they will be paid
Sure.
in full.
Like, the Necronomicon is one coast, you're on the other, and I'm on the third.
Yeah, it is actually kind of true. And also, if you could stop the acts of God from preventing you from getting to the Lovecraft Film Festival, we'd have shared several drinks by now.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I was going to go, and like literally a hurricane canceled my flight.
Not my problem.
My theory is God hates you, but maybe there's another.
Oh, but here's the killer. The airline agreed to refund me my flight out, but not my flight back.
Of course.
Because the flight from Portland to Florida wasn't canceled.
Sure.
Why is that their problem?
You need to walk up there, and then you can fly back.
So, there's like, yeah, if you can get to Portland, we'll be glad to honor your ticket.
All right.
Just to get back to Sam Gafford,
Yes.
the short story collection is Dreamer on Fire. Besides House of Nodens, I was just looking him up. He also wrote a novel called Whitechapel. Which
Jack the Ripper, yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was very good.
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper meeting Arthur Machen.
Yeah.
Interesting. I haven't read it, but I'm fascinated by it, just reading the summary.
About Necronomicon, I do want to make one recommendation if anyone hasn't bought their flight tickets yet.
Yes.
I saved several $100s flying to Boston, getting a ticket to Boston instead of Providence, and renting a car so I could, my family and I could just drive down. The price difference was over $100 a ticket between the two. So if anyone hasn't bought their ticket yet, take a look at Boston for flights.
And which you were going to rent a car anyway.
I was going to rent a car anyway. So basically I'm spending whatever it'll be, $30 in gas there and back in saving a few $100s.
Yeah.
There and back again.
So one thing, I've alluded to this before, but I'll mention again. McCormick and Schmick's in the hotel has closed.
Oh, no.
Oh.
So I don't know. I've asked my contacts what's going on, and they don't know. And
They don't have a hotel bar?
So I was going to say that too. Even the bar.
they don't have a hotel restaurant.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So, yeah,
It is the end times.
right. And the Starbucks is gone.
It's the end times.
It's been replaced by the whole hotel was bought out by something called the Graduate Group, and they replaced the Starbucks with their own coffee house chain.
I don't know. This sounds kind of fishy.
Yeah.
So what I'm learning today is that the party is in Pete's room every night for everyone watching this podcast.
Sure.
And he's buying the drinks.
When
I
you
am
know
very,
your
very
room
fond of
number,
the Irish pub that's down the street.
when you know your room number, Pete, let us know and we'll announce
Our
it.
room number is 5.
5.
5. So,
If there's anybody going to Necronomicon that you don't like, say that's your room number. And do not knock on my door before midnight or later.
oh, I can just remember, Kelly. Remember the first time we went? I was in the boot.
Yes.
Yes. So they graciously gave me a handicap room.
Okay.
Right. There's no ice machine on that floor.
Of course not.
Like, I'm roaming around the floor looking for an ice machine. And I'm like, who the hell puts handicapped rooms on the floor without the ice machine? What moron! Decided this was a good idea.
You could just, hop on up to the next floor.
Yeah.
I remember several years ago a party in your room, Rick, and I snapped a very special photo, put it online, and the caption was "Reanimate this, bitches."
Yes. I was very, very inebriated, and I
Yes,
know
you
that.
were.
Yes, and I plan on getting very, very inebriated again. I will have no responsibilities at all.
Well,
at the con.
Unfortunately, neither will I because I can't go. So,
Are you having a trivia night?
I was planning on it. I have written questions. I need to find a bar.
Yeah.
wow,
Mike?
I really thought when I announced that I'd get a little bit of.
I
Well,
heard.
that's what I was just going to say. Mike, are you not going?
No, I can't go. I just need to. That's right when school starts. I'm trying to get my son
Situated.
to be able. Yeah, situated. Thank you. I'll just leave it at that, and that's more important. This will be the first one I've missed since I started Lovecraft eZine in 2011.
Man, with this knowledge now, I might actually consider going.
There you go.
So
I'll
let you guys know.
Those are the tiers I was
Yeah,
looking
Kelly,
at.
my family and I have an extra room. You're welcome to it.
Yeah, I have a suite, so
Wait a second. Are you guys saying if I showed up, I'd have a place to stay?
Yeah.
I thought they were talking to Mike.
Well, you come to if Mike comes too, but
I'm
I
not
don't
in
believe
it now.
often
I'm not going
enough.
to be there, so
I'm accepting a Patreon for me to get there. I will drink with whoever pays the most.
there have been sillier Patreons, as we've discussed. Okay. I think that's it.
Really?
We got anything else to talk about?
That's
wait.
it?
Didn't you want to watch? Oh, okay. So, Pete,
What?
alternate timelines at the end of Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
Go.
So Cap goes back in time, decides that he's going to go back in time and live with what's her name? Peggy.
Hey, Carter.
So
Yeah. By the way, I should have said spoiler, but then you guys were yelling at me that everybody should have seen them by this time.
yeah, if you haven't seen Avengers by now,
You probably should log off.
Yeah. So Cap goes back in time to give all the magical artifacts back, and he decides that he's going to stay with Peggy. And so at some point, there's young Cap and old Cap together, or maybe not, but probably. And then at the end, the alternate timeline collapses into the new timeline,
Which you've talked about.
which I've talked about.
I thought about that when I saw that YouTube video.
Yeah, the whole collapsing timeline thing is something I borrowed from H.B. Piper and Paratime Stories. But yeah, it's people have used it before. I think it's a really interesting idea to have timelines that aren't too different collapsing into each other. Because if it's only different for one or two people, that's probably not enough energy to keep a timeline separate.
Oh my God.
As,
Like a horse.
as I said to you, this makes me think of one of the best time travel books ever written, The Man Who Folded Himself.
David Gerald, guy who wrote a couple Star Trek episodes, including
Tribbles.
Tribble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my real question about all this, though, and this is going to sound like I'm joking, but I'm really not. Cap was supposed to come back relative to their time in like 5 seconds, right?
Right.
No matter how long he took doing what he needed to do, he was supposed to be back in 5 seconds.
Yes, and he never came back.
But then they look around and there's old Cap sitting on the bench.
Right.
So here is my question. All these years, did Cap remember all of this and time it exactly?
Yes.
So that he would be sitting on that bench.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be that hard because it's like the day after the funeral or something, right? So, I mean, he's gonna know. It's hard for me not to start like complaining about this film nonstop. Yeah. But
yes.
The idea is he doesn't use the device to come back. He just knows when he's supposed to show up, and he sneaks over onto the bench when they're not looking.
Right. So and that's the idea. Except, so we're going to be led to believe that the Avengers are going to send a whole bunch of people back in time to fix all this stuff, particularly Captain America, and they're just going to do this in the park where everybody can come visit.
No security.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no security. Yeah. There's no danger to the timeline whatsoever.
Well, that was one of my favorite moments. You know, the very last scene where you see him in a flashback dancing with Peggy is one of my favorite moments. My probably all-time favorite moment from that show is when Captain America picks up Thor's hammer and Thor yells, "I knew it!"
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a fan favorite scene. My favorite scene is, it's not even a scene, it's Cap on your left. You know,
nice callback.
It's a nice callback.
I'm sort of related to that.
Oh yeah. Now I remember.
I ended up with Avengers Assemble, but the lead up to it begins with on your left.
Yeah.
I also liked the scene where you don't see him pick up Thor's hammer. I think you just see him hit Thanos with it. But a lot of people were upset because when Joss Whedon did that second Avengers movie, he goes to pick up the hammer and he doesn't do it. And so this is sort of implying that he didn't actually try. And I actually went back and watched that scene.
It does move a little.
It does, and you see Thor sits up as he reaches for it, like Thor knows.
Right.
So this wasn't just a callback of that time he tried to do it. Like Thor thought he could do it, and then Cap sort of looks at him when he grabs the hammer, and he doesn't really try, I guess. So
yeah, he's kind of got the Superman thing. If you're the strongest man on Earth, you really don't have to prove it. He doesn't have to prove himself.
Right.
He doesn't have to.
He didn't want to embarrass everybody else.
Right. And I thought that was that because of that made that also my favorite moment. And I also liked the little joke, even though like I think they way overused jokes in this film. But when they're both fighting with the hammers together and then they switch hammers and Thor goes, no, you get the little one.
Yeah.
It's just like a nice little moment. But
my other favorite moment was when Doctor Strange and everybody is back and they're all fighting, which was one fucking hell of a fight scene. Best.
That is a double page splash page.
That was just amazing. But
it's a 4-page splash page.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Tony Stark, Iron Man, says to Doctor Strange, so now he's realizing that this is the scenario out of the 14 billion, you know.
Right.
And he says to Doctor Strange, can you tell me, do we win? And I forget what Strange says, but I think he basically says, I can't really tell you that, or something to that effect. I don't remember.
The question is this the one?
Oh, okay.
Or is this it? And Strange says,
if I tell
you, it won't happen.
Okay.
I tell you what happens, it won't happen.
And then, okay, yes, thank you, because I've only seen it once, and that explains one of my favorite moments where Doctor Strange, if you're listening, you can't see this, but he slowly lifts his finger
Right.
up
Yeah.
and
To
nods
Tony.
at Tony, and then Tony gets it and he knows what to do. So it was a very good movie. I didn't like Thor having a paunch or any, having
No,
I thought
I
that,
loved that.
I love that. I thought that was fun.
So did I. I thought that was amazing. My favorite moment might have been with Thor joining the Guardians of the Galaxy and calling them the Asgardians of the Galaxy. slowly
or
taking
Thor,
over the
Thor getting on Discord or wherever those players were. This is Thor. You either do, or stop doing this, or I'm going to burn your house. I don't forget what he said, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved the scene with him and Chris Pratt standing there, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, he knows who the leader is. Yeah, we know." And he's like, "But it's me, right?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, no, of course."
But
Of
the
course.
really funny thing is that Chris Pratt's character was really jealous of Thor's physique when they first met,
Yeah.
I
and now
think
he's in
that
better shape than Thor.
I only hope that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will play somehow on this and will have Chris Hemsworth as part of the main cast.
Yeah, and I hope he does a few push-ups between now and then.
I like Fat Thor. I love Fat Thor, if I'm being honest.
Well,
Well,
Yeah, I mean, there are things that I really enjoyed about the movie, but it still had a lot of the problems I've seen with a lot of these Marvel movies lately, and I don't know. Like, maybe it's because I've seen too many of them, and they all start to bleed together in my head. But I did really enjoy the entire fight, the whole last hour or whatever it is of that battle was done perfectly, I think.
Yeah. When I listened to you guys talking about it on one of the podcasts, you had brought up the idea of Captain America allowing this. If he then went back in time and then just lived his life with Peggy Carter, he allowed the Nixon stuff
right.
to happen.
You
allowed
have to allow a lot of stuff to happen.
He allowed the assassination of President Kennedy. But more importantly, if we're just talking within the storyline that the films have set out, he allowed his wife to continue working for S.H.I.E.L.D., knowing that S.H.I.E.L.D. was run by Hydra. And that's where the real problem for me comes in.
Right.
I think they'll
That's a good point.
eventually explain that in some future way, that the Ancient One casts a spell which resolves all these problems. It's going to be like in the old Legion of Superhero stories, Superboy went back in time to the future and forgot everything that happened in the future that was relevant to his past.
Rick, what about a simpler explanation? And I'm a DC guy. I love these Marvel movies, so you guys everybody here is more of an expert than me. But to me, a simpler explanation is he tells Peggy, and she's like a mole the whole time. Is that possible?
No.
It's not.
I think that's a way to explain it, but
I
it
just got
doesn't
shot
feel
down.
right.
Huh?
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Also-
the one thing I was just going to say, in the comic books, about, maybe it's 10 years now, Captain America got aged so they could make Falcon Captain America. And the way it was done was different. It was something about the serum and all that stuff. But one thing they did is that story led to sort of a repeat of the Kelly bringing up Nixon is a good example. So back in the 70s, when that Nixon stuff was going on, there was a Captain America story about it with an evil Captain America being the grand dictator behind the secret empire and all this stuff. And when it all gets unveiled, the president kills himself and they fake all this stuff. And they sort of redo that story with a Captain America is de-aged by a cosmic being that's being influenced by the Red Skull. And so he's like Nazi Captain America. And he reforms Hydra and does all this crazy, secret evil Captain America doing all this crazy stuff. And they have to bring back like the real Captain America. So I don't see Chris Evans coming back for 3 more movies or whatever it would take to do this. But that's what I thought of when I started thinking about like the complications with Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of that stuff is oh well, maybe alternate timeline this, and they're setting something up. But honestly, I mean, it's one of those situations where the writers were just trying to give like a happy ending because they know that Chris Evans won't sign on.
You don't have to look at it too closely as one.
Right.
Yeah, the happy ending.
Or you could argue him interfering would screw up the stuff with Thanos, and then they end up losing.
Right, and
Also,
that's yes.
there's also the question of originally Peggy marries somebody.
That's true too.
And are we suddenly changing?
Right.
Are children getting replaced, or was he the husband all along?
Right.
I'm not, despite how much I love The Man Who Folded Himself and Avengers Endgame, I've not ever been a fan of alternate timelines. You go back and change something and you get this alternate reality type thing. I'm more of a fan of, like, what was the name of it? Time Travelers Never Die is the novel. And it's basically explained that if you try to interfere with an event and change it, nature somehow intervenes and doesn't let you do it.
There was a Fritz Lieber story about that. I had a collection of his stories. It was called
Talking about where the meteorite comes through the wall and
a pail of air. Yeah, like this guy was getting assassinated, and he keeps going back in time, and eventually he walks out on the porch, and a meteor hits him in the forehead.
That's not a pail of air, though.
No, that was the name of the story collection I read that story in.
By the way, A Pail of Air, it was excellent old time radio episode on X-1, I think. So, all right. Well, thanks, guys.
Well, one last thing. Remember the prize.
Yes.
eZine prizes at gmail.com. We'll pick a winner after next week's show.
So it's not eZine prizes at AOL.com. It's
Gmail.
At gmail.com. Okay.
Right.
I've heard of Gmail. Next.
Has Matt heard of Gmail? Because
I'm not sure.
I feel like if we don't bring up
what was that,
Matt? At least every episode.
Nothing. I'm sitting here listening respectfully as I did with all the Avengers blather.
Okay.
One last thing. See Spider-Man Far From Home. It's excellent.
It's got a really high Rotten Tomatoes score. So, next week is a guest. Our guest is a guy by the name of Trevor Henderson. Do you guys know who this is? He's a found footage artist. Google his name, Trevor Henderson, found footage artist. And I'm not going to describe it very well. Just go look at what he comes up with and see why I wanted him on the show. And he's becoming incredibly popular. It's great stuff. After that, on the 21st, we've got Keelan Patrick Burke and TBA on the 28th of July. Last thing I'll say before we leave is, for God's sake, please don't send me any hate mail about Batwoman and Supergirl. I'm just trying to say that it doesn't have to be either or. George Bush, you're either with us or against us.
What are you worried about, Mike? Jeez.
Well, you told everybody I hate women, and I think that
I merely pointed out that you did. I didn't tell everybody.
Everybody listens to what you say on this show more than anybody else. So,
God, if that were the truth.
Yeah, no, I just think it's a more nuanced thing that deserves a conversation. That's all I'm saying. And pick up Paul's new book collection, Growing Things, Paul Tremblay.
By the way, I just Googled Trevor Henderson's art, and I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's super cool.
Did you Google it too, Pete?
Yes, I did. I'm gonna have to drink some more because I'm not gonna be able to sleep now.
You guys gonna have to help me with some questions for this guy, because what I've got so far is, what the fuck, man? This is fantastic. And see if we can start a conversation.
It is super creepy.
Even the stuff that's not art, I mean, not photography, is really good.
One more thing before we go. Stephen King, the little-known horror writer that I think is starting to make some headway in the horror world. This story's been out forever, and I finally read it. The Breathing Method. Have you guys read this?
Yeah, from different seasons.
Yeah, from different seasons, and it's one of those framing devices that I really love, where it's like Ghost Story. They go to a club and they tell.
It's actually based on that ghost story group, the Chowder Society or something like that.
Yeah, I noticed at the beginning of the Breathing Method, it was dedicated to Peter Straub and his wife.
Right.
I think her name's Susan. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's also connected to his story, The Man Who Could Not Shake Hands.
Yes.
But the other really neat thing was...
Mike, does it kill you to have a couple of guys on here who know Stephen King and love Stephen King?
I like Stephen King.
Oh, no, I mean, you've had other guests that maybe not so much.
I don't know what you're saying right now, but, maybe if I have a beer, I'll figure it out. Not just the story, but the building that they were telling the stories in was so super, super weirdness. Matt's so bored, he's just taking
Matt's just like, fuck this.
Mike, have you read the other story, The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands?
It's in Skeleton Crew, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Very Lovecraftian.
It's in the same story and everything, or not
Okay.
same story, the same location.
Oh,
And you may want to go back and reread.
I'll have to reread
You may
that.
want to go back and reread it, because if you really liked the setting, I'd recommend going and rereading that one too.
Well, I love the setting because I don't want to give anything away, but the protagonist, the guy telling the story, the narrator, is freaked out as hell at the end about something that may happen when he walks out the door.
Aren't we
It was
all?
not very well. A guy by the name of Frank Mueller narrated a lot of early King stuff, and I thought he did such a really, really good job.
Yeah, he sadly got into a motorcycle accident
Oh no!
right before narrating the remake of The Gunslinger, like the rewriting of it.
Oh
That's
no!
right.
And so if you listen to the audiobook of The Gunslinger, it has a new narrator, of course, a different narrator. And at the end, Stephen King spends about 15 minutes talking about Frank Mueller and kind of his story and how popular he was with authors as an audiobook reader. And he passed away a couple of years after that, but he had a severe traumatic brain injury.
Oh no! I'm so sad to hear
So
that.
if you go to listen to the Dark Tower series, all 8 books,
Yeah.
you've got one reader for the first book and the last 3, and then you have Frank Mueller reads 2, 3, and 4, and does just a brilliant job. It's absolutely, like, I would say, as someone who has read the books, the audio version to me is the natural version, with the exception of
I was talking to somebody about this, and I've got the print edition of different seasons, and I was reading The Breathing Method, but I also have the audiobook of different seasons on audible.com, and there is such a difference. There's such an added dimension about some of the scary things that happen that don't really, what do you want to say, hit you as hard when you're just reading the book. So yeah, and I will say this: Will Patton is doing a great job lately. He read The Outsider, and he read, what's the other new one? Dr. Sleep.
Oh,
That's not new, but how new is Dr. Sleep?
it's a couple of books back.
Yeah, Will Patton's doing a good job on Stephen King stuff.
Hey, I know we're running late and everything, but Mike, have you been reading The List of 7?
Yeah, I have.
And?
I like it so far. My problem is I read 5 books at a time, and it's a bad habit. I got to stop doing it. But yes, I am reading it, and I do like it a lot.
Okay.
The protagonist is Mr. Arthur Conan Doyle, Sir
Yes.
Arthur Conan Doyle. Although he's not Sir yet in the book.
No,
that's yeah. You're right. I'm loving it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the recommendation. In fact, I think you bought it for me, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
That's one of my very favorite books by Mark Frost, who was a co-creator of Twin Peaks.
Yes.
Oh, that's where I know that name from.
And there's a sequel too, isn't there?
There is, yeah, the Six Messiahs.
Is Twin Peaks ever coming back to Showtime?
God, I hope not.
Oh, ouch.
Uh,
We'll see. We'll see.
I
David Lynch
hope.
said he didn't plan on it, but he didn't plan on doing this season either, and that's how he kind of ended it.
I hope not as well.
Oh, man.
I really hated after I watched it all. I hated that last season.
Go watch Dark Spot if you got a hard on for Twin Peaks.
I'm putting that on the list now.
Jesus, did you just say that on?
Yeah, I did.
You're gonna have to edit that out.
It's the show's now PG-13 instead of PG. Uh,
How many times have you screamed curse words at Kelly this episode? Like,
that's
Oh,
just
I
I
normal.
assume if I
That's,
show
that's,
up, it's
No,
that's expected.
I'll tell you what reminds me of Twin Peaks done well.
Okay.
Legion. Legion, which is now in its third season. I don't know if Kelly's started to watch it again.
I haven't, but you know I love that show.
Couldn't get to the first episode.
They're doing an incredible thing with time travel this season.
I keep forgetting that that's on. I need to watch that. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I did watch? Oh, God, we're running so late. Everyone's going to hate us. I watched the new
If
Hellboy
they're
movie.
bored, all they have to do is put the X button. Okay, it's all
The new
right.
Hellboy movie. Yeah,
I watched the new Hellboy movie.
killed that intellectual property.
I heard that was horrible.
You know what? It's a fine movie, except for the fact that Del Toro's first two Hellboy movies exist. If those didn't exist, we probably would all just be fine with this movie. Except that this movie was done so much better twice before that you're like, why does this movie exist? So,
Yeah. I wanted to read this. Hector Plasmic on the live chat says, Matt, thanks for all the links as it went along. You're posting the links on the live chat. And Matt, yes, I do really appreciate that. Chelsea Goodwin says, I think Riverdale is a lot like a new Twin Peaks. I would agree with that, Chelsea, except there's no supernatural stuff on Riverdale.
that first season felt very Twin Peaks.
It
Peaks
did.
to me.
I keep waiting I kept waiting for supernatural stuff to happen, and it keeps not happening.
Yeah.
But that's my problem, I guess. If you're not expecting supernatural stuff, then you probably like the show. When my son saw me watching it, he's like, this is for teenage girls, right? So I had no comeback.
Well, it's all
Ouch.
I know,
Well,
right?
all the supernatural stuff happened on Sabrina.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed the first season and the Christmas episode.
Not the second season?
Couldn't
I
get
have,
into
I have
Sabrina.
not watched the second season yet.
But
I
see,
enjoyed that too.
if you watch any
That's a
episode
girl show, Kelly.
of the second season, watch the one called Dr. Cerebrus's House of Horrors, which has
What my son would say.
there's a Lovecraftian episode
All right.
in Dr. Cerebrus' House of Horrors. It's a homage to Dr. Terror's House of Horrors.
I don't think he even believes it, Kelly. I think he's just trying to give me shit. Because he says the same thing about Supernatural. He's like, that's a show for teenage girls to look at hot guys driving down the road.
I would say yes, except they never take off their shirts, so we're safe.
That's true. They don't.
Okay, and we're supposed to, these 20-some-year-old actors are portraying 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. This show is dreadful.
Which one are we talking about?
I thought we're still
All of
talking
them.
about Riverdale.
Oh, Riverdale.
We've moved on.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't move on.
They're all really the same show. So, what is this? I think I have one more thing and then we're done. No, I don't. Scratch that. Thanks for being on the show, guys. Kelly, especially thank you for staying when Ben got here. That's appreciated.
I love all of you mutants except for Ben.
He likes me. He really likes me.
Yeah, so next week we'll talk to Trevor Henderson, found footage artist. And if everyone listening will Google that between now and then, you'll see why I wanted him on the show.
I put it on the webpage.
So I'm losing my voice. It's time to go. Thanks for being here, guys. And everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday.